Welcome to the Friedell Brothers podcast. I'm Dylan Friedell. It's January 31st, 2023, and I'm excited you're joining me, my brother, and today's guest, filmmaker Diamante Salmanzanos. We're going to hear from my brother Luke, joining us from the frozen tundra of Duluth, Minnesota, also known as the Outpost, shortly. But first, let me introduce you to my lifelong friend and classmate, DZ. DZ, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
DZ, you and I go way back to AOS Middle School cross country. And since then, you went to Kincaid, then the University of Boston, and finally the University of Texas, where you finished up. In a lot of senses, you're an outlier. What really got you to, fall in love with film and the film industry as a whole?
Yeah, so I think it started when my brother and I have an identical twin brother, and we make films together. But we started when we were younger.
Named Socrates.
Yeah, Socrates, yeah. And so we started when we were younger. We would make a lot of goofy films together. Our sister would make us act in these films, and we kind of grew to love it more and more. And over the years, we kind of viewed it as a hobby. But once we got into high school, we made our first film called 2 of 5 Million about 2 Syrian refugees. And so that was a documentary that really got us passionate about filmmaking.
So what was the story behind 2 of 5 Million? What was kind of the idea behind that?
Sure, yeah. So it was a story about 2 Syrian refugees, Mohammed and Abed. We went to a Syrian refugee camp our junior year of high school, and we decided to go and volunteer at a refugee camp in Philippiada, Greece. And when we went there, we befriended these 2 guys, they're cousins, and they kind of took us under their wing and showed us around the camp and really became friends with these guys over the course of 3 days that we had, the 3 days that we had together with them. And basically, we kind of posed the idea to them like, hey, you guys have this unbelievable story. We should document this and make a film. And so they were on board, and they basically told us their story, which was they're both cousins, and they live in this small town called Deir ez-Zor. It's in central Syria. And I believe it was in 2014, the town was surrounded by ISIS. And so they were coming through, and these 2 guys were like, man, we have to escape. We got to get out of here. And so they made a plan to escape through this river path. And it's a really crazy story, but one of them was captured by ISIS and one of them escaped. And basically it was their story of how they ended up reuniting in Greece. And so it was really unbelievable experience.
You said their names again one more time?
Mohammed and Abed.
Mohammed and Abed. Well, speaking of brothers, I have my own brother, Luke, standing by at the Outpost at the moment, where it's well below freezing. Luke, how is it, and what do you have going on up there at the moment?
Hey, Dylan, thanks for checking in. As you can see, I'm outside here in beautiful Duluth, Minnesota. It is 1 degree outside, which is cold for most people, but it's really nice right now because these past couple of days we've had below freezing temperatures, which has not been fun. So this warm spout has been really nice. And as you can see for the viewers out there, there's a lot of snow behind me. And right now we've had 61.1 inches fall so far. There's more snow on the way, and we're actually on track this year to have one of the snowiest winters in a while. And in terms of my snowblower, it is in the garage, not working. I hopefully will get it fixed sometime this week. I'm gonna check out because my hands are getting cold and my phone is dying. See ya. Thanks, Dylan.
Thanks, Luke. DZ, back to Lefkada. What was it like to film in a place that, your extended family is originally from?
Yeah, it's great. So we had one film we shot there called Skaros, and then we shot another film, Castro. This was both after 2 of 5 Million. And it was great, man. The geography the set design kind of builds itself. It's just so beautiful. And there's a book, I forget the name of it, but talks about how the light in Greece specifically is just different than every part of the world. And it's just really stunning locations, and it was a wonderful time.
Can you kind of speak to that Greek heritage? I know both you and I share kind of a common Greek heritage, you a little more than me. We do have a homage to that here with the Greek flag, but can you just talk about that, what it was like to enter into film? I know that a lot of people of Greek heritage are actually in film at the moment, so what is that like for you?
Yeah, it's great. What was cool to see was everyone in this small village. It kind of brought about a kind of excitement to the village because life is really slow paced, especially in Poros where we shot the film. It's like 60 years back, technology-wise. They have no AC. It's really old-fashioned. And so a lot of these people were, seeing a crew and a film set. And so they were really excited to see the final product and to see themselves kind of in this film. So even being a short. So
can you kind of talk about who you cast in this film in Greece?
Sure, yeah. So for Castro, it was a lot of locals. The main actor is our uncle, Nick Zavatsanos. He's pretty natural, I will say, and he's a great actor. Nico Cavadas is another actor we casted. He is a local who is a performer, and he's a part of the Philharmonica band in Lefkis, and he does a lot of stuff, and he's a super talented guy. And other than that, just a lot of locals. But those were the two main actors for the film.
Okay, great. Yeah, because I get that confused with your other uncle Nick. Because
Yeah.
I remember him.
Yeah,
he was funny. I liked him.
Yeah.
He was good. He was really good. But so let's kind of making that transition. Let's kind of talk about from Greece. What was your next step for you after filming there and being there? What was kind of like, what were you thinking at that point in time? Because when was this? When did this kind of all happen?
Roughly, this was like 2020, 2021.
2021. So I mean, wow, within a couple of years here.
Right,
So
totally.
really, so what was your thinking? Like, we're gonna do this in Greece, and then what are you doing after that? Where did you see this?
Yeah,
going?
totally. So after that, we had been talking for many years with our friend Freddie McDonald, and I can give some background on how we met about wanting to make a feature film together, basically. So we met Freddie back in high school. And so basically what happened is we had our film 2 of 5 Million, the documentary about the 2 Syrian refugees who escaped from ISIS, play at the Heartland International Film Festival. And so we were fortunate to win the Grand Jury Prize at Heartland. And Freddie also won the prize for the best narrative film. We were the best documentary. And so we kind of formed a friendship at that festival. And so we stayed in touch. And when he became a senior in high school, he decided to apply to the American Film Institute, which is considered by many the best film school in the world. But the thing about the American Film Institute is that they have never taken anyone straight out of high school. So some of the greatest filmmakers of all time went to AFI, like Ari Aster and David Lynch. And so Freddie, it was a pretty big ask to say, hey, I want to come in straight out of high school. So he made a short film as part of his application to the American Film Institute called So Torn. So Torn revolves around a seamstress, her thread, and a deal gone bad. With that film, he garnered acceptance. He's the youngest inducted fellow into AFI's graduate program ever, and the film was acquired by Searchlight Pictures. So he's a real stud. He's legit. And we were really excited to stay in touch throughout the years, and we always talked about wanting to partner on a feature film. And so Torn, the feature, is a continuation of the short, and we're really excited about it.
Yeah, that's really great to hear. And talking about films and kind of your process there, what was that like to go to Switzerland, and what was that whole experience like, and what was the setup like, and how did you really find your spot?
Yeah, so the short was shot in Switzerland, obviously. And it was just a really wonderful experience. Just beautiful scenery. Like we talked about before with Greece, the set design kind of builds itself, it's really wonderful experience. It was awesome.
Yeah, you can't really seem to find that here in the U.S. like that, where it's so dramatic like that, where the scene itself is being built, and you're able to see that more. You'd you say over in
Right.
Switzerland?
People when people watch movies, they want to go somewhere they've never been. Or meet someone they've never met, and so part of that is, not a lot of people are shooting movies in Greece or Switzerland or, a lot of these places in Hollywood. So, and there's such unique set design there and geography that's really just stunning.
Yeah, and I think that's really interesting because, what's kind of the typical process that you have seen in the industry where, like, you kind of make the scene itself. You don't actually go to the location, you make it on set instead of going like you're doing, going to Switzerland, going to Greece, and kind of experiencing that. So, really, to kind of wrap it up, we talked about Lefkada, we've talked about Switzerland. Where do you see yourself? It's 2023. You're 24 years old. Mm-hmm. Where do you see this going?
Yeah, man, we're very confident in the product. We can't say much now, but we're really confident in it, and we see ourselves continuing to make projects in the future. So that's kind of the plan.
Yeah, well, Deez, it's always great having you on. To the thousands of viewers out there, thank you for tuning in. It's been the first episode of the Friedell Brothers podcast, coming to you from Houston, Texas. But before we sign off, I'd like to check in with Luke one more time just to make sure everything's all right up there at the Outpost.
Hey, thanks, Dylan. Thanks for having me on the podcast. I hope you listeners out there, including DZ and anyone else listening, hope you guys learned a little bit what life was like in Duluth, Minnesota. Broken snowblower, cold temperatures, and I'm cold, my hands are cold, but luckily the temperatures are going to be in the 30s this next week. So see you guys later.
Thanks, Luke, and thank you, DZ, for stopping in to make this happen. I want to thank everyone for joining us for the first episode of the Friedell Brothers podcast, and we hope to see you next month for episode 2.